We're back at Eurobike for even more nerdiness. And we've got some really good stuff today. We've got a brand making a resurgence. We've got lots of wonderful handmade bikes and much more. No, we have not travelled back in time. This is a Nukeproof prototype, a prototype of the Descent in carbon. The back end is very different. And we haven't travelled back in time because we're now in the Belgian cycling factory, which is the new owners of the brand which was Nukeproof. I mean, it was a reborn brand in itself. Lots of interesting stuff on here. Looks like Dale is still doing stuff, according to the sticker on the top tube. That is a good thing. The linkage is complicated. Initially, to your eye, you might think that this part is actually one part. It's not. So this section here, down to here, is controlling the axle path. Very clever. This and this little dog link in here, that's actually driving the shock. So they're separating out lots of forces. There's also lots of clever machine sections, which I can imagine are playing with stiffness, which will play with how the bike tracks and how it corners. Can we see Nukeproof back at World Cup downhills? We can only hope. One of the first names in hydraulic brakes, Magura, last year released its newer downhill model, which I mispronounced as the Gustava, when actually it's Gustav. Well, here's another name that I can probably butcher, but I might be able to get right. This is the new Louise. It's a storied brand name for Magura for lots of their brakes way back. They did a couple of iterations, and this one is a all-new lever. It looks really nice. We've got a really smooth clamp here, which feels like it'd be actually quite comfortable if you kind of move your hands around the bar. We've got an inline barrel. We've got lots of carbotecture, which Magura are known for. And, well, caliper-wise, we've got a four-pot, which looks very similar to some of their brakes at the moment. A nice little redesign. G back there knows a lot about cockpit setup, which is why FSA lent into all his experience, and the rest of the team, Charlie included, who's very fast on a bike, to help develop the new Gradient cockpit. We've done a whole video on the best ways to set up your cockpit, so if you haven't watched it, it's worth a watch. There's lots of tips, including some tips from some XE legends like Charlie Aldridge. We're here on the TQ booth and we've got a fresh Sresh. This is the Sresh SL, which I've got to say, it's quite hard to say. This is Propain's lighter weight e-bike. So we've got the TQ 60 Newton meter motor. So it's hidden down in here, little battery in here, very clean, very svelte. Got a nice little display up there as well. Lots of nice details. And as this wonderful little display says, you can use Shimano's free shift technology, which means you can, well, change gear on the fly because the motor will move everything along. Really clean looking bike. Nice that. We're on the Prologo booth and they've got mountain bike saddles too, under the Proxim brand name. And they've got some new ones out. First, they've got one dedicated for e-bikes, but I've got to say, looking at the shape, I think it might suit me. We've got a kind of flatter nose, nice healthy cutout, this nice uplift at the back, just right for my quite stiff hips. We've got two other saddles as well, one for enduro and one for downhill. And you might be thinking, how are they developing these? Well, they're developing them with people like Charlie Hatton on the Atherton's team. So yeah, lots of pro inputs into these saddles. Great stuff. We're on the Nicolai booth, which is very exciting because they've been doing very good stuff with mountain bikes for 30 years this year. Very good stuff. We're going to show you the bikes because there's some really fantastic bikes and different options. But we're going to get a little bit nerdy because it's something I've seen in the comments. And, well, we chatted to Nicolai and we thankfully found out my sort of understanding of welding. I'm not a welder, but I was on the right track. They've been welding a lot and often, 30 years. Engineering and manufacturing excellence. There's a really good example of that here. Okay, we've got wonderful coloured sections here to show off where tubes are welded and show you the internal structure, but it's this flip side that's really amazing. And you see these massive fish scale welds, and you might be thinking, what, they're massive. I don't need those. Other brands have got smooth ones, so you don't see any welding. Well, that may be the case. These are the finished weld, so that's how it's finished. And they're really big and they're really fish scaled because that means that they're moving all of that weld material around in a really big area, and that means that the heat that can affect the tubing won't because it's spread over a larger area, and because the weld is such a big connection means it's stronger. And obviously I'm going to say that because that's what they've just told me, but they've got some FEA here. Wonderful little picture to highlight why that weld and why it looks the way it looks makes Nicolai's bikes different and probably better. Okay, we're here on the Nicolai booth, And we've got a lot of nice bikes, and I think what's really clever about it is it shows all the different optimization that you can go for. If you're a drivetrain fan and you really like cleaning chains, well, yeah, they've got a bike for you, and they've got it in an e-bike format or a regular sort of pedal format. If you're more of a kind of pinion gearbox belt drive person, well, yeah, they've got you covered there in both regular bike and in e-bike as well. All of them have got these wonderful mutator chips, so you can tune the geometry as you want, and those big and burly welds that we saw earlier that offer up lots of stiffness and a perfect ride. Well, that's what Nicolai say. When you've been in the industry as long as Nicolai have, you get to celebrate your 30th in style. And yeah, history buffs, they have won a world championship already. There were different stickers on the bike, but still, they won a world champ. So they're celebrating in true style with this S16 MGU with, well, a gearbox, a belt drive, and all of the jazzy stuff you might expect from a super futuristic bike. There's only going to be 10 in the world. If you really want one, you've got to put your name down on the list, and Nicolai will decide. There is a lot of hype currently in the downhill world of mountain biking about belt drives and gearboxes. And you might think it's all new, but this bike is from 2001. And okay, it's got a hub gear in the centre, but it's acting like a gearbox. Okay, it's got a chain, not a belt drive, but it shows how far forward Nicolai are thinking. This is, again, 2001. Here at Eurobike, there are some really big brands. There's huge brands that are here. And there's some smaller brands that you might not yet heard of, but are creating some incredible stuff. And this is one of those examples. This is true bike components. And I've got to say, it's a brand that I've not heard of. And up until meeting Dominic about 5 minutes ago, I didn't know much about them, but now I know a lot more. This is his frame that he's developed, and, well, it's really incredible. So, okay, headline facts. We've got 130mm of travel at the back. We've got 150 up front. It's designed as a trail bike. It's high pivot, and we've got an idler on there as well. And then there's the frame and the rear triangle. They're made out of carbon. Yep, Dominic's making those himself. Yep. He already makes the wheel, so you can get different wheels and different construction options and different rims. He's got his own mould that he's created, and he changes the layup for different applications. It's really impressive, and I guess it really highlights why carbon fibre is such an incredible material, because the external profile will remain essentially the same, but all of the different, well, orientations of ply, how much carbon is used, the different resins all make different wheels. And, well, he's applying that same how-to, that same incredible composite knowledge to his whole bike. It's not available yet, but it's going to be available soon. There's lots of little details on here that when you first cast your eye over it, you'll miss. I missed the fact that it doesn't have any flip chips, but then Dominic pointed out, well, he's designed it from the off, and he's designed it to be just right, so it doesn't need flip chips. That's impressive in itself. And then you've got this 8-pins dropper. You might be thinking, well, where's the clamp to hold it? It's integrated. Yeah. That's what you can do when you're designing it from the off. It is so impressive. So many little details. Even the cable routing is really neat. You've got this cowling cover, so it looks as smooth as some of the best integrated, but actually to work on, it's really easy. That is really nice. I know, I'm pushing boundaries. We're going to look at road bike tech on a mountain bike channel. But don't come at me, because this is really good tech. First up, look how fat the tyres are. Yeah, they're 32 mils. They're really plump. But the key bit is the hub. What's going on? That is a self-inflation hub, where the racer who won Roubaix, and she's a mountain biker, PFP, can adjust the tyre pressure on the fly. So not if she gets a flat, but literally she can inflate for the road sections where a little bit higher pressure is going to roll maybe a little bit more efficiently. And when she goes into those cobbled sections, those sectors, well, she can lower it down and get even faster rolling. It is really impressive tech. Are we going to see it in mountain bikes? Let's find out. We're on the Marin booth. There's lots of nice bikes here, including a really nice hardtail with tam wheels, but apparently that's not new. This is new. This is a wonderful iteration that Outside Brendan and Marin have done on creating his ultimate trail building bike. And it's packed with lots of wonderful features, including these Ego battery packs for the electric chainsaw on the back. Really nice. Loads of 3D printed bits, loads of kind of custom racks and little mounts and lots of little details. including lots of safety, obviously, for a chainsaw. Up front, there's a custom rack mount and custom rack, and on there are some more trail building tools. It's very fun. Oh, gee, hang on. It's actually an e-bike, because you've got this bimodal adapter on the front here. So, front-wheel drive e-bike. Fun. This bike is not quite as clean and fresh as the others here on the stand, and that's because it's Matt Jones's bike from the Hardline race in Tasmania, of all places. Maybe there's some spiders still on it. I should move away. Ooh. It's not officially new, but I really like this Team Marin. It's the tan walls and an alloy frame hardtail. It just sings to me. Let me know what you think down below.
We saw these Turboflow valves in Sea Otter, and I was very excited with them. You're probably wondering, why are you excited about them? It's another standard. Yes, it is another standard of valve, but it gives you, well, lots more flow, up to 300% less effort. And that means, well, setting pressures is easier. It means doing tubeless is much easier. Now, you might be thinking, but Owen, we've got another standard of tubeless. We don't need to replace our pumps. You don't need to replace all these things. And that's why this standard is really impressive, because you don't need to, because it will work with a standard Presta. What's more interesting is, and I didn't realise this in Sea Otter, you can actually get these top sections of the valve to screw onto your Presta valves that you've got already as a kit. So you can get that section alone, which means you get, again, loads more flow. You can buy the whole unit itself in 3 different sizes, and you can get a dedicated easy click on and easy click off valve head as well. But it's sort of like an upgrade kit. So you could get just that top section, you can get the whole valve, and you can get a new valve head for your Topeak pump. Really nice workshop tools here from Topeak as well. You might be wondering why I'm so excited about this one. Well, for a long time, as you may know, because I waffle on about it far too often, I used to be a race mechanic for a couple of downhill teams, and I used to stand in lots of fields and service, well, pedals for lots of different brands, Crank Brothers included. So I've got a love affair with the pedals. And one of the tools that essentially you always need is a little pick tool. Now, depending on what brand of pick tool you've got, sometimes to travel with them is really tricky, because sometimes you'll need an L bend, sometimes you'll need a straight pick, and the storage is the problem, because you'll end up having to put cork on them so they don't stab through any tools that you've got or stab into your hands. But with this new set, well, they're all stored inside here. You've got a nice aluminium body, you've got this wonderful knurled end cap here, and this really nice little quick release action. Really good. Perfect little tool for, well, all those tool nerds out there. And now for something completely different. This is a Canyon dude that's got a wild paint job, a wild spec, and, well, it's just wild, isn't it? Right, back to normal service.
Orbea Rallon. I mean, it just looks fast, standing still, doesn't it? All the way that the tube forms have been shaped, it just looks rapid. We've done a whole video on how adaptable this bike is, because it can be set up as an enduro race bike or a downhill race bike. And as a downhill race bike, it's already a World Cup winner, which is impressive. Orbea have got not one new gravel bike, but actually 2. They've got a race version for that UCI-ish sort of road, but on fire road racing. They've actually got a proper gravel bike here, and I say proper because we've got loads of really good features. We've got a UDH on the back end, we've got internal storage that's actually really big, and for mountain bikers, yep, it's got 50mm clearance, but the word on the street, or in the booth, is that you could fit a 2.1 mountain bike tyre in there too, and that's my kind of gravel bike. We're not at Bespoke, one of the amazing handmade bike shows, but we are in a little handmade booth. So here are some amazing handmade bikes from Eurobike. And here's an orange. With DJI, Bikehead Components have got an incredible bike. This is the one. They released the frame in January, and this one is a special edition just for this show. And this one weighs 7.7 kgs. That's mad. And here's an Alutech bike with an Intradrive MGU system. That is fancy. And here's a Crossworx. Yeah, an aluminium, made in Germany, hardtail. Looks awesome. And if you think composite bikes are new, this Swedish bike here shows you, well, you're not quite right. This composite bike, plastic bike, is made, well, from plastic, and it's from 1982. This is a very nice Propain. I mean, it's nice because it's a Propain, but it's also dripping in the brand new wireless XTR. It does look amazing. And also, we've got the XTR pedals, we've got lots of lovely details, including the XTR wheels. There's another feature on here which I've got to say has completely flown past me, but apparently it's a current model. It is this Tharsis post by Pro. Pro is the component brand of Shimano, so it's sort of owned by Shimano. But yeah, really nice little dropper. Love the colorway on this one. And apparently internally there's some kind of clever trickery where they've done some clever machining to make it lighter but stiffer. Effectively, the internal shape of this structure here is not round, so it's effectively like a, well, butted for different loading, which is clever. We've seen it in static seat posts, but I've got to say I've not seen it in a dropper post before. Available in lots of sizes, from 100 all the way up to 200. Hopefully, we'll see more. We talked about Shimano shoes very recently on our surprising Tech Tuesday tech show. I've just discovered another set. You may be able to see them or you may not. Effectively, we've got the XC shoe, the top 903 S-Fire shoe, which is very nice. I've got a set in black. Had I known that they'd got these camo ones, that's what I would have gone for. Aren't they awesome? We've got a matte camo. It's almost a bit of a sheen to it, iridescence. Awesome looking shoe. We did show these on the tech show just the other day, but how awesome do these shoes look in the flesh? This is the all-new GE 900 G, so that's the Gore-Tex version. So effectively we've got an awesome clip-in winter shoe, and I really like this colour, the sort of like terracotta clay. The features, well, that's feature stacked as well. So that's this sole that we were talking about before, where we've got this elongated cleat track, and the cleat positioning is further back as well, and we've got this new tread, this gripped design from Shimano. They know what they're doing. They've been making mountain bike shoes since, well, since we had clip-in mountain bike shoes. And yes, Tim, you can come at me in the comments on that one. Awesome bike just here. Why is it awesome? Okay, first up, let's look at the frame. This is by Faction Bike Studio. They're a company that work behind the scenes with lots of different brands, helping develop, well, better bikes for everybody. And the story behind this one is pretty amazing, because some of the people at Faction decided to, well, after Sea Otter, decided to go, that 32-inch thing, should we do a test case and try and prove that actually a bike works? Well, that's just what they did. So Sea Otter, they started doing a little bit of homework and they've created this. It is amazing. We've got aluminium lugs, we've got machine sections, we've got loads of details. So underneath this chainstay, which looks solid, there's loads of little cuts underneath. Likewise with this seat stay as well. And yeah, we should talk about the wheels too, because this is a 32-inch bike. And this is a test case to, well, prove that you can make a full suspension one. It does work. Okay, in terms of ride time, they haven't had loads of ride time, but this is, well, what this company does. They can create prototypes really quickly. And with 32-inch wheels, they are new. So we've got to work out lots of things like what bottom bracket drop is the best and what offset for forks. And we should talk about forks too, because these are the Intend forks that have been custom made for this bike. Travel-wise, 120 up front and 120 in the back as well. I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking this is like a triple XL. No. This is like a medium. The reach on this is just 450. So 32-inch wheels, 120mm of travel. It all can fit in. So are we going to see more of them? I think this is a very good test case. Whew, wow. Again, big day. Lots of stuff that we've seen. I know I've got my favourites. Let me know what yours are. I mean, that hardtail that weighed sub 8 kilos, that's pretty special. But then there was those Orbeas as well. Let me know in the comments. What's your favourite?